Welcome to Quick Shots, a short format traditional archery podcast, where we introduce you to some of the world's most influential traditional archers, and occasionally, some random dudes. Big shout out to our sponsors, Triple T Strings, ready to shoot right out of the package. Message them on Instagram or Facebook to get your professionally made string for beginner, intermediate, or advanced archers. Hey everyone, and welcome back to Quick Shots. I'm your host, Mick Chambers, and we're here with Aron Snyder, Kifaru International President and Owner, Kifaru Cast host, outdoor wildlife photographer, and what I would consider the GOAT of outdoor traditional archery. Hey, Aron, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. I hope that wasn't too much for you. I mean, honestly, you're starting to become a living legend. Is that too much? Did I go too far there? Or, I mean, honestly, the stuff that you do for traditional archery is just, I don't think anyone's doing it the way you're doing it, man. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride because quite honestly, so it's 2021, almost 2022. So in 2015, I was I made fun of traditional archery a lot, and then 2016 up the stick bow. I still shoot a compound occasionally, grab a gun, but whatever. But I got addicted to it, and it kind of took over my life in a good way. So it's weird because I look at somebody, the GOAT comment comes up a lot. I'm not the GOAT. I started in 2016. Now, have I done things that people may have thought possible? That's probably because the amount of time I get off and the amount I get to shoot, and I got a 40 target 3D course at my house. So
But you did that. You did that. You did that. No one did that for you. You did that.
yeah. I mean, however you want. I mean, I think that there are people, and I'll bring up Chris Perino,
Okay.
that extremely skilled, that are killers, extremely skilled hunters that honestly can't get out of their own way at times because they see social media for the bad parts, and so finally I started a page for him when we were all drunk at Scotty's, and because I'm like, dude, you can't sit here and bitch about what's going on in social media and not get on yourself. Do what you want to do. Chris is a GOAT. As an example, is one. Brian Burkhart. I mean, there's many. Randy Cooling, Denny Sturgis.
Yeah.
As far as what I was able to do is come out with a much larger platform and a different perspective. I was very, very. I got to hunt a lot and took a lot of animals with the compound, and then I came at it with this huge platform coming from a compound. No one's ever been able to do that.
Right.
But it's the GOAT. I'm definitely the GOAT. I've just been able to come at it a different way.
I'm a bit old school, so I'm gonna say, honestly, for me to get back into traditional archery, I looked at Fred Eichler and I just was like, this dude's shooting and killing stuff, and he's really really good at it, and he's coming. He was a traditional guy. He was also doing compound and stuff like that too, but. I don't see that as much in him as I see in you, where you are constantly going out and getting animals on a regular basis, man. It's cool. I mean, listen, if you're not comfortable with the term GOAT, that's fine. We're going to call you that anyway. So it don't matter what you think. Sometimes it doesn't matter what you think. It's just the title you get, man.
I don't take away from people that came before me. There's been doing it a while. I think, and what I was able to do was just bring it on a much broader platform, and also enlighten people on the fact that not enlighten. I shot a Coues deer at 176 yards with my compound. I shot a caribou at 127, and many elk, mule deer, and antelope 80 plus.
Yeah.
And then now I'm addicted to getting close. I come at it from a perspective which quite honestly has pissed off a ton of people, but a stick bow guy, downplaying or blasting a compound guy. Well, I was the guy you're blasting, and then now, vice versa. You know what I mean? Coming back at it where compound guys blasting stick bow guys. I can defend both parties. I
Hey, yeah, you had a great podcast recently. I want to promote your podcast, Kifaru Cast, because you talked a little bit about this on the last Kifaru Quest, where you were like, dude, we cannot, you're a hunter, you're a hunter. We got to stick together. We're all in this together, right? So there's some, and just if you guys haven't seen the latest podcast by Kifaru Cast, man, it's really good. It's a good one. You guys are digging in hard on that one. And I agree. I think you're right, man. I think you're saying all the right stuff, and I think that's why a lot of people respect the fact that you're full of a ton of information for traditional archery. And
there's also a lot of people
what's that?
don't forget about all the people that hate me. There's a lot of those too.
Who would hate? Why would anyone hate you, dude? What you're doing so much for the community. We're getting a little bit off my script here because okay. So this podcast, as everyone knows, I'm usually just like, hey, give me your background story, tell me what you're doing, and just go to know the archer. But let's face it, man, everyone knows who you are. So, but it's this good. I'm interested in having this conversation. Why are people hating you? Why are people hating on you? Say that again, because
I don't,
a little bit.
Does this have to be on video? Could I cut the video off and just do audio, or is it?
No, I need you on video. Yeah, this is kind of a thing with us. Is that okay? Do you mind?
No, I don't give a shit. My service sucks. So that was just asking for that reason. One of the things that I have found, and one of the things I've gotten really good at as I get older, and I'm mid 40s, I'll be 45 in a couple weeks, is learning that you are sometimes the problem in fixing that. So you rewind 15 years. I was the guy jealous of Cameron Haynes. Now I'm very good friends with Cameron and defend him. So I had a guy, his name's Colton. I think his name's Stick Bump. Great dude. Guy I promoted, talking shit about me about like guided hunts. And and it was fun because I'm a guide, right? I guide everywhere I hunt. And so I called him out on it. And again, Colton and I are friends. I like Colton. And when I called him, I was like, dude, I promoted you. I like you. Why are you talking crap about me? Was it jealousy? I don't know, whatever it was. I have gotten to a position as time has gone on to where I can do public land, killed an elk 12 miles on public land this year.
Yeah.
Mountain goat, I killed public land, whatever it is. And I hunt private land. I have a lease in Texas and land in Oklahoma, whatever. What I think people should do is what I've really had to work on. Take a step back, assess who you are, what you're doing. And if you put the effort into yourself and becoming a better person, better hunter, better shot, better whatever, and instead of hating, you're probably going to be farther along. It worked for me. I mean, I stopped hating on people and just focused on promoting people as much as I could. My skill set, being a better person, and maybe it's age, maybe it's 4 divorces, well, 3, whatever it is. I'm about the fact that I've screwed up on just about everything in life possible. I have some of my employees come to me for advice on something they screwed up, and I'm like, that's it? They're like, yeah, that's it. And I'm like, I've screwed up way worse than that. I can fix that. Good. And I had a very unique life. We were talking about this the other day. I lived in a 1-bedroom condo from 2006 to 2018. And I slept on an air mattress, a Thermarest air pad for most of that time.
Yeah.
That's not something everyone's going to do, but I had to do that to be able to afford to go hunting.
Right.
Are you capable of that commitment? So when people say things like, oh, you're so lucky, well, there was a lot of sacrifice in that luck. There was a lot of work. And I'm not doing that to pump my own tires. I'm doing that to tell people you can do it. If you put your mind to something, you can do it. You know what I mean? Anything is possible. The human mind is a very powerful thing.
Yeah, man, your positivity and the way that you explain things and the way that you talk to other archers, it's just a no bullshit. Hey, this is the common sense type approach to what you're doing, right? It's like it's not magic, you know. If you want to sacrifice, you can get these things too. Now, I think personally, probably you have natural ability, natural skill. You have a good mental mind, right? But I think it comes with experience, right? Would you say that that comes with experience, or did you say that right from the beginning you were just mentally strong? Because when you're bearing down on an animal, you know your heart's racing, and you've got to go through all these emotions, and then you got to eventually pull the trigger, right? And some people just black out, you know, and they do.
Not to go through my family history, but I was raised pretty rough. We didn't have running water till I was like 3. The tires on my Shelby are worth more than the house that I was raised in until I left it. As an example, you know, my dad was pretty rough on me at times. His friends were rough on me. It made me tough. I've had, this is at the risk of sounding extremely arrogant. I've always been an athlete. When I say an athlete, I've always been fairly gifted at strengths, my hand-eye coordination. You know, you play the slap game.
Yep.
I don't lose very much. Um,
That sounds like a challenge, but okay, keep going.
you know, I'll take it. I, I I think that when you look at what I don't have, okay, I can't run. You know, I'm not a very good runner. I don't have well, I do now, but I didn't at the time. Money, right? I didn't have a lot of money. And when I say that, coming through the ranks, I didn't have the ability. I didn't have friends with, you know, private land or buddies that were outfitters or guides. Okay, well, if I become good enough at what I'm at, I can become a guide.
Yeah.
If I'm good enough at what I'm at, if I crush it so hard that people want to have me come to their place, because if I hunt it and I do well, other people's will hunt, you know, different way. I'm not doing a very good job explaining this. If I
I know
focus on,
it's good. I get where you're going. I get where you're going, man. I totally do, and I think you are explaining it well. Keep going. This is really super interesting to me. Honestly, it's really good. Love
well,
that stuff.
uh, if you take, well, let's take Joel Turner.
Yeah.
I don't agree with everything Joel Turner says. He focused on what he's good at. He is
Yep.
good at I mean, I don't fit into what he does, but he's good at coaching the mental game, and he
Mhm.
focused on that, and he pushes forward with it, and he is very confident in what he does and what he teaches. Do I agree with everything Joel says? No. Is he good for a lot of archers? Of course he's good for a lot of archers. Is what he teaches good for me? Doesn't fit for me.
Okay.
I already have what the you know the shit he's teaching, right? But he focused on what he's good. And I bring up Joel because I don't agree with Joel with a lot of things he says, and it's good because it's good good conversation.
Yep.
And when you look at Joel, he took it what he's good at and he rolled with it. And you've had him on the podcast, I think.
Yep. I have. Yep. Yep.
And when you talk to Joel, and you are a guy with target panic, you are a guy that blacks out. Joel was that guy. I don't know how long it took him to kill an elk, but it took him a long time. But he took what he learned in that however many years it was. He figured out why he sucked, what he needed to do, improve on it, and then translated that into coaching.
Yeah.
Whether I agree with him or not, that is powerful.
Yeah.
And if you're a guy that, well, let's take me, working construction, single father, not much money, okay, I wanted to be in the outdoors, and I had the mental aptitude and the skill set to stay there forever and go through environments and conditions that other people may or may not be able to, and learn from it and then teach. That's what Joel did. And he's done a great job at it. So you take guys that are like, well, I really want to do this. And let's say that is work in the outdoor industry.
Mhm.
That's a horrible way to look at it. You don't want to work in the outdoor industry. What do you really want to do? You want to be in the outdoors. So skip the outdoor industry part of it, because that's probably not going to get you in the outdoors. Most jobs probably pay 38 to 50 grand a year in the outdoors. industry.
Yeah.
That ain't gonna make it. What do you want to do? Dissect that. Do you want to hunt more? Okay. Do you want to guide? Do you want to design? Do you want to make better products? Do you want to be Joel? Do you want to coach?
Hmm.
Focus on what you actually want to do, not what you think is going to get you there. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh my God. This is, usually, again, I usually, it's off script. I usually ask, give a piece of advice. This goes beyond usually what we get for a piece of advice. That's amazing. Yeah, I get that, but just a little bit more color on that. So what kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to follow in your footsteps? You want them to sleep on an air mattress, or do you want them to, give up something? Like what's the advice? Who's the next you? How can someone be the next you?
I had a lot. I had a lot of things fall into place. The one thing I focused on, one, I am introverted. I'm getting better at it, but
Hmm.
like I didn't plan to be, famous, right? Or whatever you want to call it. I didn't plan to be, I hate to use this word, an influencer.
Yeah.
I didn't plan to at the tip of the spear in certain things. What I wanted to do was hunt my ass off and be in the wilderness as much as I possibly could. And that's what I did. The rest of this came as an ancillary benefit. So, did I plan on when I started this to say, I really want to have 100,000 followers? No. Did I say, man, I can't wait to be a sphere of influence in the outdoor community? No. What I said to myself was after I got a divorce was, I'm going to live my life the way I want to live it, no matter how poor I am, no matter how much struggle I have, no matter how much I have to beg, borrow, and steal. I'm going to spend as much time in the wilderness as I possibly can and as much time hunting as I possibly can. And that's what I'm going to focus on. Everything else came after that. And so I get a kick out of some guys that Aron only hunts on private land, which is not true. He's lucky. Well, I'm lucky, but let's look at it. I worked a construction job, a very physical. I worked as a commercial glass guy, curling glass and
Yep.
hanging out of buildings, 4 stories up, everything else. Friday night, I'm off work, drive all night to a trailhead, hike in, get there at midnight. Saturday morning, I'm glassing, I'm scouting, I'm fishing, I'm doing whatever I'm doing. Sunday morning, the same thing. Sunday at noon, Sunday late, I'm hiking out, I drive back, I'm back at midnight. Monday morning, I'm back on the job site. I got good enough at my construction job to where I was difficult to fire me. And so I would be like, hey, I'm taking unpaid time off. Hey,
Yep.
not going to week. I'm going helping a guy on a goat hunt. But they couldn't fire me because I was so good at what I did. That was by design, because I'm like, if I get so good at my job, they can't fire me. Anybody can be fired, but you get what
I get what
you
you're
did.
saying. I know. Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
And out
yeah.
of that, as time went on and speaking the truth about products and dissecting, being designing products that are missing in the industry, I was able to get to where I'm at today. Was that what did I text some dude in the outdoor industry and say, how do I get to be you? No, I didn't do that. Hey, I can't in the outdoor industry. And no, I didn't do any of that. What I said was, I'm going to live in the woods as much as I humanly possibly can. All of this came after that. People forget that.
Yeah. And just by doing that and not and putting in the work and putting in the effort, you got to where you are. I know you don't like the word brand or influencer, but Aron Snyder, Kifaru is a brand, right? That's a brand. You're definitely a brand. Is the way I see that. So wait, I see you going there. I mean, your company obviously is a brand, but you as a person, you seem to be a brand. There are very few people like you. And you say you're introverted, which is interesting to me. Like, wow, like this guy's introverted. I'm the one that's nervous right now. Like, you know what I mean? I'm kind of extroverted, right? So, I find that difficult to believe.
There's a cardboard cutout of me to take to shows for a reason. I crowds of people. I used to have a real trouble. I looked down. I'd be doing this, right? I had trouble looking at people in the eyes. I mean, as I said, obviously I've gotten better. I do seminars in front of 500 to
Yeah, you
2,500
do.
people, but
Yeah.
that came with time. Remy Warren's a good example. Remy's introvert and he's figured it out. But let's take I'm going to take pick somebody in the industry right now that you know of. When I say in the industry, not in the industry. Pick a compound archer, someone that you know of that's trying to make it, that we both know.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Cody Greenwood, Trad Lab.
Prime example, good friend of mine. Cody Greenwood's brain works different than any human I've ever met. He's running off statistical algorithms constantly. Like he asks me, hey man, once you shoot an animal, when does it start bleeding? And I'm like, usually about 40 yards. That dude measures an animal.
I know. Yeah.
And again, I'm friends with, I don't agree with everything Cody does, but Cody's a friend and I have literally about gotten into fist fights defending him. How can there's no fun in what he does. And I'm like, well, look, dude, take a big step back. His brain and your brain are not the same brain.
Yep. His
brain does find fun, amusement, whatever you want to call it. He loves what he does. And so Cody, while some people bitch, piss, and moan about what he does, what he's doing, he loves. And not all of what he does is groundbreaking and earth-shattering, but he is figuring out things that other people haven't looked at. Wound kill ratio, wound ratios, kill ratios, penetration tests, things like that. Cody will make it because he is very passionate about what he does, and he's not letting any jackwagon slow him down. And I've had people, how can you be friends with that guy? I'm like, well, I'm not saying I agree with him, but Cody means well. He's a great guy. And I've stayed at Cody's house, and in reverse, people have come up to Cody and been like, what's Aron like? and Cody's like, oh, great guy. Basically I'm this mercenary. And he's like, Jesus, dude, he's sat and talked to my wife for 3 hours. Like, obviously I trust him, and people have the depiction of Cody as, somebody that's speaking out of turn, and he's not doing that. What he's doing is taking what he's learned and trying to provide info from that. And again, he's passionate, he's doing what he loves, and he's pushing forward. He will make it. You pick somebody else who's a hater or a naysayer. Are they going to make it? Probably not, because they're not focusing on what they love and what they want to do. They're focusing on what other people are doing and downplaying or shit talking or whatever else. They're not focusing on what they should be focusing on, which is what they love. They're focusing on hatred towards what somebody else is doing, and they're probably not going to make it.
I really love Cody a lot, and we've talked quite a bit. So if you're listening to this or you're watching this and you're here for Aron, don't forget Cody Greenwood too. Go to the Trad Lab, go watch his stuff. It's interesting. It's good. He's trying to make it, and I think that he puts a lot of energy and effort in, like Aron is saying. And I think that there's validity in having analytics behind some of the stuff, and just kind of whether it even reinforces your belief or not, that's good. I mean, it's just when you have cognitive dissonance, you're like, no, I'm telling you, this absolutely 100% works. That's where people get pissed off at Cody, right? Because they're just like, no, I've done this forever, it's been working. But then when he shows the data, people are like, no, it's not true. But we're all like that. We're human beings, man. We're human beings.
You look at that. If you're in touch with yourself and you're not, there's no ego involved or whatever else, exactly. It's not going to matter. If 5-inch feathers have worked for you, keep shooting them. Who cares?
That's exactly right. You got a good. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, so you have another good podcast on this one too. So 2-blade versus 3-blade. I forget which one it was. Cody was on there. I think you had the ranch fairy on there too, I think. But anyway, you did a 2 versus 3 blade. That was interesting video too, by the way. So anyway, keep going. I thought that was really awesome.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay.
2 blade, 3 blade. Cody asks me because I kill a bunch of shit, right? I mean, 100 to 175 animals a year, roughly.
Crazy.
And, people will come back immediately with that. Why do you kill that many? You're not eating them all. Well, let's not forget, I donate food or meat to, like wounded or veteran programs, feed the homeless, whatever else. So if you're going to come at me with some hateful speech about I kill too much, you can suck it, because all that food gets, all that. So Cody is like, okay, Aaron, what have you seen with these broadheads? And I'm like, well, look, Cody, here's what I've found with my setup. And there's no, Pythagorean theory and statistical analysis. Well, all the things, Cody, I'm a redneck, right? I'm a knuckle dragger. I'm like, hey, Cody, this is what I found. So Cody will dissect that and he'll ask me info. And some of the, I'm like, my veins hang up in the animal. I don't care, right? If he wants to run that thing to ground and figure it out, more power to him.
Sure.
People, why does it matter why does it matter to you, right? Why does it matter why do you care what Cody's screwing around with? And so when we did the 2 to 3 blade, what I was telling Cody was, I see no reason to shoot a 2 blade unless you have extremely short draw, extremely low poundage, because the 3 blade penetrates extremely well, which he's tested all of this. And he found all of my theories to be true from testing. And again, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is when Cody had come down and we shot a couple buffalo, I shot an owl-dad, a bunch of pigs, things like that. I shot an elk and a bunch of other stuff. What Cody tries to do is take all of these different data points, and then construct a theory, well, I shouldn't even say a theory, construct knowledge from those data points and push it out to the world, right? He's basically saying, okay, Aaron came up with this, and this is what he's found. I tested it in a lab, and this is what I've found. And hey, guys, a 3 blade may be better than a 2 at certain situations or whatever it is.
Yep.
I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't, so Cody hasn't put 700 animals on the ground. Neither has Pickett. Yeah, pick a name. John Dimmer.
Yeah. I
don't know how much he shot with a stick bow, but I'm certainly going to listen to John Dimmer when he talks.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Because what's applicable to him. I'm going to listen to Tom Klum.
Tom Klum.
Yeah. Tom Klum is not world championship. No. That dude's killed a lot, and he's got wealth of knowledge.
Yep.
Cody Greenwood has not killed nearly enough, or nearly as much as other people that have been in the industry a long time would say that's not enough. It doesn't matter. Well, he's also taking data from people like me and tons of other people. So why are you letting that bother you? Why does that matter? You probably need to take a big step back and look at yourself, because you probably have some mental problems of your own if you're letting what Cody Greenwood says affect your life.
And hey,
because if he's you've got problems.
I agree. So I can't say this enough, man. It's just, there's enough room to be hating on anyone, and we all have opinions. So if your opinion really bothers you, just turn the channel. If someone's opinion, just turn the channel, but don't hate on someone. We don't live long enough as human beings. I know this sounds a little bit but ethereal, but we don't live long enough as human beings to hate on people. It just makes no sense to me, man. And this is, I'm circling this back to people that are hating on you. Like, that's strange. That's funny to me that you're saying that. You're doing so much for the trad community. Like
you know what? I can bring up, which I won't. I got a phone call from a guy that he owns a bow company, a traditional archery company that makes bows, letting me know that I was wrong in doing a show called Hunt Wars with South Cox. It wasn't right, whatever spiel he had.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, yeah, it's a competition, but have a little faith in your fellow man. Do you really think South Cox and I are going to promote traditional archery in a bad light?
Yeah.
South owns Stalker stick bows. Like, but that dude hates, and that guy has become a staunch, well, I would say staunch. He has become a hater of Aron Snyder. And for whatever reason, I would say it's because he has a tiny penis and he really has, because
So
everything.
you got never Schneiders. You have never Schneiders in
Oh, Cody
the
Green put it a very good way. He goes, what you say and do daily is the glue that sticks these six people together, which are haters.
yeah,
I'm not going to name names. I look forward to meeting all of them in person, because the reality of it is what I'm doing, whether you agree with it or not. Am I promoting traditional archery in a positive light?
check.
I think, am I getting after it, showing that hard work, dedication, practicing, tuning, learning the art of traditional archery is a positive thing? I believe I am.
Check.
Do I have a large enough platform that I was on the Joe Rogan podcast, for Christ's sake. How do you get any bigger than that? Promoting traditional.
I don't know.
So what does that boil down to? It
Oh,
probably
sorry,
boils.
this podcast. Go ahead. Keep going.
No. I mean, it probably boils down to the fact that they have some mental issues with themselves, and they should probably take a big step back and say, okay, what's wrong with me? And I've had to do that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I brought up Cam Haynes a long time ago, I hated Cam Haynes. When I took a big step back, I'm like, well, I'm jealous, and I should probably. And again, are these guys jealous of me? I'm not saying that. But what are they doing for traditional archery? What are they doing to help? What are they doing to promote it? Most of the guys that I have found that dislike something Cody or myself or Joel Turner or whoever to push, Frank, I don't know if you Frank, he's a coach or whatever. And Frank and I have had words, and not good ones
Frank
before,
Madonna. Frank
I
Madonna.
think Frank's a good dude, and he is promoting archery, traditional archery.
Yeah.
If you're disliking any of it, you probably have some mental issues of your own. You should take a big step back. You should look at what you're doing, and should you take the hatred and the negativity you're forcing towards all of us, and take that and put it into promoting traditional archery your own way and building your own platform and trying to help out. Because hating on a John Dimmer, a Cody Greenwood, an Aron Snyder, a Tom Klum, Chris Perino, a you, a whoever,
Yeah.
not good for traditional. You're going to have a hard time convincing me that is good for traditional archery. And there's a lot of guys out there like that. I can read about myself all the time on the leather wall. It's not good. At one time I was your expert. Now I'm the 5-year expert now. But you know what they don't take into that equation? I shoot 200 to 400 arrows a day. They don't take into that equation that I work out for 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
They don't take the equation that I literally spend 150 plus days into the field. So if you're and I'm being a smart ass, the 10-year expert, but you spend 5 days a year in the field, you shoot 10 arrows a day.
Totally get it.
Probably ahead of you.
Yeah. So you probably don't know this about me, but when I was a kid, I wanted to be a martial arts instructor. And so I worked my ass off. I worked up my ass off. And, that was like 4 days a week, 2 hours a day, and I thought that's a lot, right? That's a lot. My body was getting beat up, and, it's a grappling martial art that I'm involved in. It's not, it's not no touch. So it's all grappling. But then I said, then one of my instructors came to me and said, hey, if you want to be good, if you really want to do this, you got to go to Japan. So I did. After I left the army, my first thing I did is I booked a ticket to Tokyo. I lived and trained full time in Tokyo. And, I didn't do when I came back home. Okay, I didn't have as much experience as a lot of these other guys. But in Tokyo, you're doing 5 hours a day, 6 days a week. It just makes a huge difference when you put in that much effort, energy into something, and you know, if I don't know if it's lack of respect or what, or, you know, it's just you're the youngin, you know, we got to get
Yeah,
rid of that sort of old gatekeeping in traditional. Again, we don't have any time for this shit. We
yeah.
don't live long enough, man.
I gotta say, and I'll use Joel Turner for example. I've had to wrap my head around myself a few times to where there's things Joel has said that is irritated me. But in the grand scheme of things, I've promoted Joel, and there are people, many people Joel has helped. So I got to wrap my head around the fact of, okay, why does it bug me what he's saying or certain things? Well, the reality is without coming off like a total arrogant peckerwood, I am
Too
to a
late.
certain a unicorn. Well, I was able to pick up traditional archery very fast because I had the clumps at Rocky Mountain Specialty here.
Yeah.
I practiced till my fingers fell off, and my brain does not work like most people's. And so, even though some of the things that Joel says doesn't fit into me, and again, I'm a promoter of Joel, it doesn't work for me. I had to wrap my head around the fact that not everybody works like Aron Snyder. Not everybody brain works like Aron Snyder, and a lot of what Joel and Tom and the Push and those guys teach is how would I put this? Wouldn't work for me,
Not right
but
for you. Yeah.
will work for a ton of other people. And so, well, again, I'm not trying to hump Joel or the Pushes or Tom Clum's leg. I did have to take a big step back and look at myself and say, okay, why am I getting irritated at times of what Joel says? Probably some mental issues of my own, right? Does that make sense?
No, yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, again, you're saying exactly what we should be saying right now.
Yeah, and
You're
it's
not, yeah,
self-assessment.
yeah.
How many people do you know when they miss an animal say, I screwed up?
Yeah,
Not
no,
very
no, no. That
many.
animal jumped, or that he ducked, or you know,
Yeah,
the wind
what, yeah,
got it.
both sucks, whatever,
My
right?
bow sucks. Yeah,
People that go on a backpack hunt or head out hunting for the first time, let's say out west or whatever, say, I focus too much on gear and not enough on fitness and shooting. Okay, how many people have come to me and said, Aron, what degree offset do you shoot? Or whatever, when they can't hit a paper plate at 10 yards.
yeah.
Okay, you should be able to shoot bear shafts and hit the paper plate at 10 yards. Like, you really need to look at what you're doing, including me. So if you call me or message me and you say, hey, should I shoot a Flemish or a endless loop? Well, how the hell should I know? I don't even know who you are. Like, you ask me this, and again, I'm more than happy to help people, and I am I am not downgrading people that ask me questions at all. But what I am saying is you probably should know what you should be shooting by what you're currently shooting. Now, if you're ordering a new string or whatever, I totally get that and I'll give you advice. But when you're talking about, hey, should I shoot 3 or 4 inch feathers? I don't know. That's a good question. I
Yeah.
shoot 3 veins, trad veins. Hey, should I shoot a 3-blade or a 2-blade? I don't know. Like, I can
Well,
take a
people
guess.
want, Aaron, people want you to tell them, you know, what your setup is. And if it's working for Aron Snyder, then can it work for me? And at least I better give it a shot because he knows what he's talking about. He's killed a lot of animals. I want to know, I want to steal that mojo. I want to steal the Aron Snyder mojo. Seriously. I know as a guy that's kind of fanboyish over you a little bit. So I know that, listen, I listen to what you're shooting and what your advice is, and whether you think
Yeah,
you're influenced or not, I still do. We do.
but there's a big difference because everybody on the planet that follows me knows what I'm shooting.
That's true.
So and this is where I get hung up. And I say maybe you could do a little research and figure it out. They are not a 29-inch draw. They do not shoot 57 pounds. They are not shooting a Bob Lee Shikari.
Mhm.
So when people ask me those questions, what I really look at is or what I want people to get to the point of the root of where it's at. It shouldn't be should I shoot a 2 or a 3 blade. It shouldn't be should I shoot 3 or 4 inch veins. What it should be is, where's my skill level at? Do I have the ability to tune my bow? If I have the ability to tune my bow, I have the ability to find out, does 3 or 4 inch work better?
Hmm.
And then I have the ability to also assess what's better, an endless loop or a Flemish string. Does whatever does cat whiskers work better than whatever other string silencers you choose? I get the emulate. I get that part where I want to use what Aron uses.
Yeah.
What I hope is they don't stop their search for knowledge at what I use. What I'm hoping they do is they start from there and then keep going to find their own special sauce. Because believe me, I screwed up my feet, and I have them on right now, by hunting in something like this. Because I listened to South Cox, who is a great friend of mine,
Yeah.
and Cameron Haynes, South, talk about running flexible footwear.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have listened to South, because now my foot size has grown by a full size. I went from an 11 or a 10 and a half, 11 to a 12, because my arches have fallen. I was packing out too much weight, because South Cox and I are a different build.
Hmm.
Okay. So when you look at that, meaning I want to give advice, I want to help people. But if you can't hit a stop sign at 20 yards, you probably shouldn't be worrying about the things you're worrying about.
Yeah.
You should be worrying about hitting the stop sign, not what Aron Snyder's shooting. You should be worrying about what John Dimmer is doing, or
No.
who.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I think, yeah, you're 100% right. Because here's how I see it. What this show for me, and how I'm trying to help traditional archery. I'm trying to help the beginners coming into traditional archery, and I'm introducing them to you obviously today. And I introduce them to, like, some people who are not obviously as popular as you out there, and don't have a platform, or have done as much as you have done. And that's not what. So, we have the push. We have your show. Your show is intermediate to advanced. Let's put it that way. And you do bring people into it because of your personality. And I see a lot of. I can imagine your show, if we were to do demographics on it, you would have a lot of compound bow, sorry, conversions to trad archery, and just you guys are at that level, right? And so what I'm trying to do, honestly, is I want, like, people who aren't into archery at all, but really want to get into it, and they're just starting out. Like, what should they do, and how should they do it? So I get what you guys are doing. It's fan freaking tastic. I mean, honestly, it's the next level stuff. So
And again, I don't want to come off as a total peckerwood while we're talking, but what I do want to make sure people understand is, I get wanting to be like a you or a me or a Tom, but but I was never like that. Yeah, I mean, I emulate maybe Randy Ulmer a little bit when I shoot in a compound, but what you really want to get to the position at is your knowledge level is so high that you are telling people what you should use or what they should use, that you have put enough animals on the ground or spin it. Or, not everybody can do that, but you want to work towards that. And so getting info from a me is a good idea.
Yep.
But you want to have the knowledge base to suck in that info, pick and choose, and move forward, because your skill set, your knowledge base, your tuning ability, your hunting ability, your shooting ability is at a level where you can say, yeah, what Aron said is not working for me. And the world today we have is easy button. Don't hit the easy button. Learn for yourself. Now, take advice from me. And like I said, all these people I've mentioned, but have the ability, when you take that advice, to assess it, dissect it, test it, grab what you want from it, and move on. Because in the end, you're the one shooting your bow. And I want those people to be able to have the knowledge to assess everything they've learned and move forward and become stewards of traditional archery and spheres of influence of traditional archery, and not hit the easy button. Yeah. Don't just shoot the arrow I shoot because I shoot it. Shoot the arrow I shoot because it works for you. Yeah. Don't use Joel Turner's shot IQ because that works for you. Use it because because Joel uses it. Use it because that works for you. Am I making any sense of that at all?
I think you're saying taking Steal from the people that you need to steal from, right? And if it works for you, you steal that piece, and then throw away the rest. And you have to be able to discern between, what's good for you and what's not. Um, my only comment to that would be even slightly contrary is that you have to start somewhere, right? You have to start somewhere, and I want people to get into traditional archery. I don't want them to get honestly. I don't want to get fucking frustrated. We
Mm,
lose a lot of guys every year because they can't shoot a bow because they get frustrated with a string bow, and then they go over to compound, or they just quit archery altogether. And for me, the more people that are in traditional archery, the better. Like I'm trying to drive that message home. So
No, and I guess I'm looking at this from a different lens because I agree with everything you just said. The lens I'm looking from is a lot of people hit the easy button thinking I'm just going to do this, and
yeah,
they don't get any farther. I agree. Like I don't mind anyone asking me what I use. Of course, I ask other people what they use. I ask Cody, who's killed 0.0001% of what I've killed. I ask Cody for advice all the time. And again, though, once he gives me the advice, I'm at a knowledge and skill set level. I can test that.
yeah,
That's where I want you to
yeah,
come to is take what I tell you,
yeah.
but I want you to tell me I'm full of shit a week later because you tried it.
So true.
And that meaning learn shooting, learn tuning, learn fletching arrows, learn how to build an arrow,
Yep.
learn how to build a string, learn how to tune a bow. And so when you call me and you say, and this is just an example, Aaron, I'm shooting a fishing line rest, and when I put a bare weather rest on, I shoot bullet holes. But when I put a fishing rest on, I'm shooting knock high. What should I do? Do you really think I can answer that and give a good answer?
Mm.
I'm not in front of you. I'm not watching. And so when I'll say, okay, well then shoot a bare weather
Yeah,
rest.
bear weather rest, springy
And
rest. Shoot a springy
this
rest.
this just happened. So well, I shoot left when I shoot it. And I'm like, well, you can't possibly be tuned with both. So again, where I want to push people towards, and I hope to help them learn this, is you are not going to be shooting a tuned arrow out of both of those setups.
Right.
He thinks he is. That is the problem. And that is what I'm talking about is I want to get the knowledge, whether it's you or me or Joel or Tom or the push or whoever or Frank or what. I want them to get to I want them to be so hungry for knowledge that they turn around in a month and say, hey, Aaron, this is what I did and this is what I learned. And I'm learning from them now.
Yeah.
That's what I want. And so I probably didn't explain that as well as I probably should have a few minutes ago is I want to be able to ask the people that ask me for advice in a few months. I want to be able to ask them for advice. What happened? And a lot of people, I don't want them to hit the easy button. I want them to be so hungry for knowledge of traditional archery, of animal anatomy, of animal behavior,
Yeah.
that I have to get to a point where I'm like, man, I had a rough couple months at work. Hey, Dale, well, how did that work out for you? Oh man, I ended up having to do this. Now I can put that in my knowledge storage bank to help others. And some people don't do that. And that's what I'm getting at. Don't just use what you use or what I use. Take that in the beginning, learn from it, perfect it, and write your own book after that. The first chapter in your book may be what Snyder uses. Your seventh chapter may be that thing that Snyder used didn't work for me. And then I can get knowledge from them. That's what I hope. What I'm doing, I hope, if something echoes through the or echo, whatever, echoes through time,
Yep.
is
Yep.
people to learn more and become better archers. And just taking what I do and walking away isn't going to do it.
Yeah, that's a great message, man. That is honestly a great message. It takes a level of humility, somewhat, to kind of say that, and because again, you got a good brand, and people really respect everything you do, and just being able to say, hey, yeah, I want to learn from this guy too, but he's got to do the work. He's got to put in the work. So I think it all boils down to exactly what you said at the very beginning. It's like put in the work, man. Put in the work. Traditional archery. Listen,
Well,
if people survive through the intermediate or advanced level of single string archery, they're committed. I mean, it's not an easy endeavor at all. I mean, it's not something like, especially if you're going to hunt with single string. It's not. And again, I don't know how you feel about this, but I always throw, like I don't throw caution in the wind. If you're going to go out and hunt, you better be good with that bow. It's not just like, okay, I'm going to practice a little bit, once a year, and then I'm going to grab my bow and go in the woods and try and shoot a deer. It's just not, it's not ethical.
No,
Um,
you're totally right, and I mean a good way. And I'm very blunt, which you've already learned already, and I'm very direct. Am I going to take hunting advice from John Dimmer? No.
yeah.
Am I going to take hunting advice from Joe Turner? No. Am I going to take shooting advice from John Dimmer? Yes. Yeah. Am I going to take maybe mental control advice from Joel Turner? Yes. I may take some advice from Joel Turner. I may call him and say, hey, dude, you would not believe what happened when this whitetail came in. You have to have humility to do that. And I have no issue. Let's look at Frank. And I'm not sure what Frank's last name is, but
Frank Madonna. Frank Madonna.
Frank. Okay. He's a coach. And he and I had some not good words at one point in time because he was blasting me for shooting candid.
Yeah.
But Frank's a good coach. Frank has a good knowledge base. Oh, okay. Obviously, John Dimmer has an amazing knowledge base. If you're on and Frank for hunting advice, you're probably going to the wrong person. I think they would tell you the same thing. If you're going to shooting advice from me, you're probably going to the wrong person. I can shoot well enough, but I don't have good form. I have kind of a weird release. I kind of come down, but you have to have humility in what you do. And again, and I have definitely been, I have had people accuse me of being, a bit arrogant, which is definitely true. But also
Good.
and I have humility in the fact that I'm not a coach, right? I'm an instructor. I'm not a coach, meaning I will yell at you to get better. I'm not going to give you words of affirmation. I'm not a coach. Coach. Tom's a, whatever. Joel's a coach. And when you look at all this, and what I'm getting at is I have no issue asking Frank for shooting advice. I haven't yet, but I might, because Frank's a good shot and he's a good coach. I have no issue asking John Dimmer, which I killed more last Tuesday than John Dimmer's killed in his entire life. But John Dimmer is 100 times better.
What about Matt Yaka?
So of course I'm going
to. Would you ask for shooting advice from Matt Yaka?
Oh yeah, Matt Yaka, to me, I want a room full of people to keep Matt Yaka safe. Matt Yaka is the 1 in a million guy that you hope marries your daughter, you hope works for your company. And I don't want to hump Matt Yaka's leg.
I do.
Have you ever seen like those movies where somebody walks up and they put their hand in your heart and they're like, your soul is pure, you can pass?
Yep.
That's Matt Yaka.
Yeah.
And so now I did beat Matt Yaka in a shoot off. I must mention that.
Good.
Now, I don't know that I could beat, well, I can judge yardage. So at a 3D tournament, I'd probably kick shit out of him. At a spot shoot, he'd crush me. But Matt Yaka is a guy I'll call and I would say, hey, Matt, man, I'm having some tuning issues. And is it my release or whatever? I have no issues with that. Some people have issues with that. And again, we're all in this together. And if you take your ego out of it, Matt Yaka is going to wipe, he would use my face to wipe his ass at a tournament, right? He's an amazing shot. John is no different. Frank is no different. Are those guys going to keep up with me on the side of the mountain? No, of course. That is my thing. That's what I do. But what I don't do is shoot tournaments and profess my knowledge in coaching. I'm a horrible coach. I'm the guy that'll slap you in the back of the head when I'm coaching you because you didn't listen to me. I'm a horrible coach. But Matt is a great coach. Frank's a great coach. Tom Klum is a great coach. The Push puts out great, info.
They do. Good people.
Good
people.
Yep. He's a mental coach, and he's great at that.
Yeah, Matt was just down here in the downstairs dojo helping me yesterday. I told him you're going to be on the show. He said, "Tell him say it hi."
Oh, Matt,
He did not mention that you beat him once, though.
So Matt and I were in a shoot-off, and I can't remember how far it was. Now, keep in mind, this is my home range, right? This is in mountains or whatever, and they put a a matrix target out at, I don't know, 50 yards. He blanked the target. He skipped off the top of it, and I did not. So I get to say that I did beat Matt Yaka, a national, or I guess, what did he win? The national world championship.
Yeah, I keep getting mixed up on what he won. It was one of them. It was one, and he won in a shoot off against Demmer.
In my own mind, to make myself feel better, I guess I could say
World champion. World
I did,
champion. He's a world champion. Yeah, that's right.
but so I beat a world champion at shoot off.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, the thing is if you take your ego out of it, I need coaching from Matt, right? Like, Matt can help me. But when it comes to putting animals on the ground, that's what I'm good at. And so you're getting advice from different people. Again, like what I talked about, you should get advice from a Matt or a me or a you or whoever. But what you want to do is write your own. You want to get to a skill set and a level where you're writing your own book. And the first, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, maybe learning. Chapter 6, 7, and 8, maybe you figured it out and you're walking your own path. And when you get to chapter 9, 10, and 11, you are now at a point where you are helping other people. And I hope that people stick with traditional archery long enough to write that 12-chapter book or whatever it is, to where those last 3 or 4 chapters are you have now become a sphere of influence and a person that people can look up to and emulate to start their own book.
Great advice. Hey, can we switch gears just a tiny bit here? I want to talk a little bit about your business, about Kifaru International, and how you got involved with that. And that sounds like it's an interesting story too.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was doing backpack reviews, not getting paid for them on different forums and things like that. One of the last backpacks I reviewed was actually Kifaru, which was in my hometown. Mm-hmm. I met Patrick Smith, who's not nearly as well known as he should be, a pioneer in the backpack and backpack hunting community. I met him. We talked a little bit and gave me a couple packs. I think I paid for them or whatever discount. Went on a backpack scouting trip, 5 or 7 days, came back, and I was like, this is the most comfortable pack I've ever worn. Nice. And that guy is amazing. Came back, we became friends. When I say friends, more like a father figure, a guy that how many people do you meet that spend more time in the field than me? I haven't met many. So I was able to talk to him and someone that I could respect for what he had done. And we started designing packs together and things like that. They hired me on as kind of a consultant or a contractor. I worked there for a while, getting like a percentage of hunting pack sales as I designed and promoted them. That went on for a while. In 2014, made me the president and the GM or CEO of the company. And I, kept growing the company and learning, right? I was learning about pack designs, about, fabrics and materials and how to get top to bottom, right? From cleaning the ship all the way up to the top as a president, I was doing it. And in 2014, like I said, they made me the president and the CEO. And later on down the line, a few years, Patrick called me and asked if I'd buy the company. He's like, you are the son I never had. Again, I'm fast forwarding a lot of this. He had daughters. Would you buy the company from me and carry the tradition on of my name? And I was like, yeah, of course. I've got a financial backer that I think that you would like. I want you to meet him. We purchased the company, and in the last year, we've doubled in size.
Good.
So that's the short version. One of the things that was unique with Patrick is he knew how much time I spent in the field, and that was a lot. And so if he would come in and I was in the office and he could tell I was stressed, he would be like, dude, go spend some time in the wilderness.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, really? And so there was like a prerequisite that I had to spend 150 nights sleeping on the ground to be in the position I was. And so awesome. When I say it's like I've spent more time sleeping on an air pad than I have in a bed, that's not a lie. Now I do a little bit of everything. I backpack hunt and I guide and whatever. He was able to trust in me that I had the same views and philosophies, not just in the designs and the durability and everything else, but also in the American made 100%, needle, thread, buttons, buckles, webbing, that I was a firm believer in that. And he entrusted me with that and let me, purchase the company from him.
That's awesome, man. That is such a good story. And how long has this been now?
Year and a half.
Wow. And you double in size. Do you think COVID had something to do with that?
Well, I certainly knew when the what are they called, the stimulus checks came through.
Yeah, stimulus checks. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew when those came through because we had. So I think a lot of it was sorted. We redesigned and rebuilt the company, so we ship in a lot shorter time. At one time we shipped in 12 to 16 weeks. Now we generally ship in 3 to 5 days.
And you're international.
Yeah, we ship all over the world. We do military contracts with everyone from British Special Air Services all the way down Dutch Army to hunters. We do everything. We work with different tier 1 groups, things like that. So it for me, and even, my wife gets a kick out of it. When I met her, I had a flip phone, no computer, no email, no TV, to where now I'm obviously wired in 24/7. I consult with people on marketing and business. I assess people's companies and leadership and things like that. Did I ever think that someone would say, please come to my company and assess leadership and how they're doing? No, I barely graduated high school.
Yeah.
So it's been a whirlwind adventure, and I never thought I'd be where I'm at.
So you're saying that American made is your differentiator in that space?
Not
Or is
just
there,
now, one of them. We American made, and when I say American made, one of my competitors has their American flag sewn in China. So there's different levels of American made. We are 100% American made, meaning our needles, our thread, our buckles, our buttons, everything comes from the United States. The labor comes from the United States. We are very compliant, is what that means.
yeah.
Also, how many other business owners do you see them strap an entire animal to a backpack to test durability?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
So we are in the field more than any other business owner or general manager we know, me and Frank and others. So we are out there testing gear at a level that other companies are not. And then also our customer service. I answer phone calls on the side of a mountain for customer service on pack fitting, the gear list, to everything else. So, when you can call it the general manager and talk to them about what for mountain goat hunt or whatever, other companies don't do that at the level we do. Our customer service and our team is second to none, and we all use the product. Try calling Patagonia and asking someone on their customer service team what's it like for a 14-day backpack trip. Call Sunto or Garmin and ask them about the watch you're using, and ask them if they've been at 13,000 feet and does the watch operate properly. You're probably not going to get that. You do get that with Kifaru.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And typically at this point, I would say, thanks very much, and start to wrap up. But it's been such an interesting conversation with you, dude. I really appreciate you getting on here, and talking to me. I've learned so much, I think, today. And again, I think everyone knows how to get hold of you, right? Is there any specific place that you want to send people to if they want to keep up with what you're doing, other than what I've mentioned? Your podcast, Kifaru Cast, your company. I think it's kifaruinternational.com, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. .net, Kifaru. It's Kifaru.net is the website. Aron_Snyder is my Instagram page. I think if anybody takes anything from this podcast and my rambling, the human body and the human mind are capable of anything. And if you put your mind into something that you love, don't let anyone tell you different. No matter if you graduated with a 1.8 in high school or you graduated with a 4.0. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. I'm never going to play in the NBA within reason. If you can do anything. And don't let naysayers or certain things hold you back. Just keep doing what you want to do and what you love, and eventually things will pan out for you. And I think if people look at that, trying to take their best foot forward every day, trying to make themselves better every day, whether that be mentally, physically, or whatever, or a better leader or whatever, you at the end of the day, focus on what's going to make you and others better. And in the end, I think you'll end up where you want to be.
Thanks, Aaron. You're an inspiration. Really appreciate you in the trad bow community, man. Thank you very much. And thanks everyone for watching and listening and sticking around with us on this trip. It's been awesome. Thanks again. Take care.
No, thank you for having me on, man. I appreciate it.